Welcome to the Put On Waivers Media Group, home of the Put On Raiders podcast and the Student Body Right podcast. This is your place for the best breakdowns and the best insight for those who fight on and bleed silver and black. Now, here are your hosts, Dwayne Douglas and Ryan Holmes.
And welcome everybody to the glorious episode of the Put On Raiders podcast. I'm your host, Dwayne Douglas, along with Ryan Holmes, and we are podcasting at the beautiful shores of the Pacific Ocean. The day is beautiful. It was great weather in Tennessee, of course, so the Raiders didn't have the elements to deal with, but the elements were themselves, I guess, in this one. They lose 22-24 against the Titans to start off this season 0-3. I'm speechless, but I'm part of it. But is it reaction to this game? Kind of all over the place. We can start in the first half where I just don't know, as far as self-scouting goes, at some point, don't you kind of look at your own tendencies and then all these, these check downs that you're getting 17 yards on. And I like Patrick Graham, but you got to stop those. I mean, and then that's really, and then also red zone defense could be a little bit better too. You don't got to give a touchdown every single time that the team's in the red zone. Thoughts about we'll talk about the first half first, but overall, what are your thoughts about that?
This game was won and lost in the red zone by the offense and the defense. I think offensively, in the first half, it looked like a continuation of the fourth quarter against the Cardinals. A lot of soft zone, a lot of underneath dump offs. A lot of yards after the catch. And to me, and we talked about it in the previous show, I wanted to see them play man coverage on the outside and trust Rocky Sin and Nate Hobbs to man up. One of the worst receiving tandems in the league. I mean, Robert Woods is a solid player, and you have a rookie in Treylon Burks, but neither one of those guys scares you as a defensive coordinator. Yeah. And the Raiders chose to play soft zone. And the problem with this defense this season is the coverage of the linebackers has been horrendous and not knowing where to go in zone coverages. And they continued to do that. And it showed up in the first half. And the type of team that Tennessee has, you have to get them you have to get them out of down and distance. It can't be Henry for 4, 2nd and 6, dump off for 8, first down, Henry for 6, Henry for 12, because they're just going to wear you out. And that's what they did to the Raiders defense in the first half. They never got them behind the sticks, and they never got an opportunity to get after that offense. They never got guys coming off the edge. They didn't really blitz a ton again early. And before you could blink, it was 21-10. And then now the offense was in catch-up mode in the first half. Thankfully, there were changes in the second half. They shut them out. But I think this game, and we texted about it, when it was 21-10, the Raiders get the ball. Yep. They have a chance to score at halftime and get the ball back. And the fact they went 3 and out, punted it, and before you know it, Tennessee's at midfield. Those 3 points, that changed the game. It went from 21-10, 21-13, maybe 21-17 to 24-10, and now you're playing catch up. And Josh McDaniels, I thought the new offensive line played well. I mean, that's about as good as you can expect this offensive line with these players to play. They ran the ball at 5.1 per clip. Carr got hit 5 times, sacked once, and for everyone that's saying the offensive line played terrible, and that the defense can't get to the quarterback, Tennessee had the same stats going the other way. So the Raiders hit Tannehill 5 times and sacked him once. It's the same thing. So you can't say the defense couldn't get pressure and the offensive line sucked because the stats were exactly the same.
Yeah, pretty much even as far as that goes. But that 3 points at the end of the first half was very similar, reminiscent of the touchdown the Chargers scored. You knew it was a huge uphill battle once those points were on the board. And they almost needed a defensive score. They almost needed a scoop and score to actually think that they were going to come back, and for me to think they were going to come back and win this game. It's funny, people were around me when Holland scored the touchdown, the jump ball in the corner end zone, and they were like, the people were more excited than I was. I was like, I knew the ensuing 2-point conversion was not happening. And I think also too in that last drive and to try to go force overtime. You had enough time. I don't understand this. I don't know if it's Mick Lombardi and him and I mean, you're sitting there and they know you're not running the football if Josh Jacobs isn't in the game. So, I feel like they could have. It shouldn't even got the 4th down. I think Keelan Cole definitely had a ball that he should have caught. The Raiders weren't great as far as just securing the football today, especially Darren Waller. But I think, in that situation, like you had enough time where, even if they had tied the game, I think it was like a 1 minute and 14 seconds left, and they had all timeouts or maybe 2 timeouts with Tennessee. That you end up losing the game on a walk-off because you could have managed the clock at the end.
Yeah, I think the other part of this game where the Raiders lost it, and it's kind of lost in the shuffle, no one wants to talk about it, is the Raiders had, I think it was 6 drives after they scored the touchdown to get to 10 points. And in those 6 drives, they scored 6 points. They got 2 field goals. They really struggled in the red zone. They went 2 of 6. This game was not on Derek Carr. Let me preface it by saying that Derek Carr played good enough to win this game. This game fell on other aspects of this team. But having said that, he was one of his last 10 in the red zone passing. Now, Keelan Cole dropped the touchdown. Darren Waller dropped the touchdown and became an interception. But we're just not completing passes in the red zone. That's a problem. That falls on everybody. And you can't go 1 for 10 in the red zone. And that one catch was the Mac Hollins throw it up at the rim 50-50 jump ball where he just out-physically, out-muscled the guy. So there's no rhythm in the red zone in this passing game. And this is a problem that's been going on for eternity for the Raiders, it seems like.
It has been. And there's a gentleman who's behind you in your virtual background. I know Packer fans are already online, just like, cracking every joke they could possibly crack. What is going on with that? Like I just see people scheme up plays for Christian Kirk and, all these other receivers. What is the problem where Derek Carr cannot get the football to Davante Adams?
Well, we saw last week he was open, and Carr decided to go to other routes. To me, the biggest issue with Adams is they're not using him on the outside. They're basically lining him up in the slot and trying to run these underneath routes where you can get him the ball 4 or 5 yards. He needs to work down the field. And Davante Adams is an all-pro receiver that's been double-teamed his entire career. So even if they shade a safety over there, and I see a lot of play calling comments. The play caller's not the one making decisions line of scrimmage and throwing the ball to whatever receivers. That's coming from the quarterback. So we've seen Derek Carr just completely go away from receivers. If there's any hint of coverage rolling that way, that's got to stop. It's Davante Adams. You gave up a first, a second, $140 million. Throw the ball to Davante Adams. He can't go 5 for 36 and be out-targeted by numerous other players 2 weeks in a row, and your season's on the line. He just disappeared again. And until we see the all-22, I don't know what's really going on the outside, but you got to find a way to get Davante Adams the ball. It cannot happen 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, it's driving me. It's driving everybody crazy. And like, I know people are saying whatever. I just don't know how that takes place when I'm seeing the impact of Waddle. I'm seeing the impact of Tyreek Hill. I'm seeing the impact of all these guys. And these guys are supposedly have played together for a long period of time, and they throw to each other all the time in the offseason. Is this kind of because Derek might be like a more of a robotic thrower? Okay, the coverage over here they're shading coverage over here, so I'm going to go to Matt Collins. I'm going to go to Keelan Cole. I'm going to go somewhere else with the football because I'm not going to make a daring throw and turn the ball over.
My gut instinct says yes, that's exactly what it is. You can't tell me that McDaniels isn't calling plays to get the ball to Davante Adams. It's just if the coverage is rolling that way or if they have a safety shaded, he's clearly not going that way. He's clearly trying to work the ball to Hollins. And Hollins had a great game. Some big catches there late on some balls down the sideline and clearly in the end zone. But there has to be a way to get Davante Adams the football. If it was that easy just to roll the coverage and completely take a guy out, how come the Raiders defenses haven't done that in 20 years? Like, there's more to it than there's a safety 15 yards away on that hash.
Yeah. And also, I mean, too, I was watching highlights of the Colts-Chiefs game, and it's like, let me guess, without looking, Kelsey scored 2 touchdowns. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, why can't, like, it's not going to be, like, 100% open and all the time, and you got to allow special players to be special. X's and sometimes it's X's and O's, and you need Jimmy and Joe's. Like, you got to be able to have those. Forget about what the play call is. You have to be able to just kind of tote that line where, hey, this is the best, one of the best players in the league, and we're looking really stupid not moving, not giving him the football.
Yeah, and the other side of that is if they are rolling coverage and they have a guy over the top, then they don't have 8 in the box. So you're running the ball at 5.1 yards a clip. They basically ran the ball in the first drive, and they ran the ball coming out of halftime, and Josh Jacobs again gets 13 carries. Like, you're running it at 5.1 yards a clip. If you don't run the football, you're not going to be physical. Now you're setting your offensive line up to fail, and there's no threat of play action. So at some point, Josh McDaniels is just going to have to run the football and get the ball to Davante Adams. Like, that's his job. He's the offensive play caller. I love Matt Collins. He had a great game. I like to see Foster Moreau get his 4 or 5 targets, but at some point, I can't look in the targets column and see Davante Adams have 7. Like, that can't happen. And they're all on underneath routes.
Yeah, where there's no threat for him to really use his ability of explosiveness, as far as that goes. I think, they did a lot of they did a lot of things on 4th down in this game. the big long pass down the right side, which was a crazy, like, Willie Mays type catch by Hollins, and then the jump ball, which I think could have been thrown even higher. I thought it was kind of just still thrown at the defender's helmet. I thought, like, go ahead.
I was going to say, I did like that Derek moved around in the pocket. They rolled him out a couple of times. He stepped up. He ran for some yards. He ran for a first down. Again, I think Derek Carr played his best game of the year. But having said that, you are what your record says you are. They're still 0-3. They have to find a way. And I think I tweeted you this stat. In their last 10 games, they've scored 198 points. They're averaging 19.8 points per game over the last 10. And they've scored more than 23 one time. That's not good enough in today's NFL. You have to score in the upper 20s, 30 occasionally. You can't do it once a season and expect to have a winning record.
No question about it. Are we just at this point, should we just cut Josh Jacobs? Like, what are we doing? Like, even when he's going good, they don't want to give him the ball. Like, I don't know, as far as, like, the illness goes, whether maybe he asked out of it. I don't think that. I'm not sure if that's the case. And, like, why are you willing to die on a vine for Brandon Bolden this much? Like if what was Zaire White active for this game?
He was in a few times. I don't know why they drafted him in the 4th round if they didn't plan on playing him. Like, I don't get it. The Zamir White and Britton Brown draft picks tend to, as of now, make 0 sense unless you were absolutely punting them to 2023, which this team needed players that could help them now. And if Josh Jacobs is sick, and Josh Jacobs had a hell of a game again, considering all the elements as far as his physical condition, missing practice, I thought he played well. They just didn't give him the ball enough. But Brandon Bolden again. I mean, it's 3rd and 4, and you're running an off-tackle shotgun sweep, and he's, like, tiptoeing around the end. Dude, you weigh 230 pounds. Put your shoulder down and get a first down. You can't get tripped up short. And where's Amir Abdullah? Like, we heard all about how great he was in the passing game in camp. Like, where is he? Like, why are they not getting the ball? Like, this isn't the offense that they had in New England. We want to talk about the screens and the running back routes out of the backfield and getting the ball over the middle and working matchups. I haven't seen that. Like, this is literally, I don't know what's going on. And Davante Adams has disappeared. Darren Waller has really disappeared. He had a terrible game today, but other than that, he still only had 5 targets. And without Hunter Renfrow, and you're not throwing the ball to Waller and Adams, you're not going to score points. And at some point, the ball has to get into the end zone. We got to stop kicking field goals.
People will let Matt Hollins have a career day. They will allow that the day day in, day out. Chandler Jones.
I don't know where he's at. I'm ready. I tweeted, like, the panic is rising.
Yes, the thief in the night. As far as that guarantee money goes, it really makes. I mean, that's a move where, like, that's the head coach and that's also the defensive coordinator telling Ziegler, hey, listen, let's get this guy. He's gonna play alongside Max Crosby, and we're gonna have a special pass rush. I mean, I watched Unique Ngakoue get us sack Holmes today. Like, people like Raider fans know the stats of former Raiders more than they know stats of their own team half the time. But, like, I mean, which I don't blame him for, because this is a guy who's an older player who is looked every bit of that. He has looked like he is not getting anywhere near the quarterback.
I gave him the benefit of the doubt last week just based on what the game plan appeared to be. Today, I'm not giving him the benefit of anything. Like, he looked old today. He got around the corner one time and hit Tannehill on a fourth down. That was a drop. And he didn't get anywhere near the quarterback the rest of the day. And granted, they didn't have a lot of opportunities to get after the quarterback because they were never really in third and long. But at the same time, like, he's got to start making an impact. This is 3 games in a row. They gave him a ton of money. I'm glad Rock Ya-Sin is here. Like, let's not act like Unique Ngakoue had a career year last year. He had 8 sacks and he had 2 sacks in 3 different games. So he disappeared for about half the season as well. You're just waiting for Chandler Jones to turn the corner. But I'm at the point now where, like, you're paying between Farrell and Jones, you're paying $27 million for nothing. No production. $27 million for no production.
And then if you're going to get no production from the interior defensive lineman, where are the 2 rookies?
Yeah.
Like, give them that experience. Let me see them actually do something, because it's just not. I mean, this ain't it. I mean, this really ain't it. And I'm not used to there at 0-3 looking. I mean, that's just, you can't look worse than this. I mean, and like, we can talk about whether it's Derek, whether it's offensive line, it's everybody. Like, I mean, even
everybody. Everyone's had a hand in all 3 games.
Yeah, everybody's had a hand in all 3 games. So even when they could complete that deep pass to Hollins, didn't Bars have a personal foul?
He did.
After the play was over.
I'm going to say Fox didn't show a lot of replays, so I'm going to have to see that one on all 22, because the replay they showed, he didn't do anything. So clearly it came after the camera cut away. The same with the Illuminor hold on the over route to Waller. They cut it away before you could see Carr get outside. So I want to see a replay of that. Maybe he held, maybe he didn't. But I don't know what's going on. I mean, the offense has no identity and the defense has no identity. This feels like last year all over again. And for everyone that is like, well, this was a playoff team, Rich Bisaccia, we never got rid of him. Like, they seem to forget the last 4 games the Raiders basically played the COVID Browns. There was some injuries on some other teams. They escaped Indianapolis with a late win, and then they beat the Chargers. So it's not like they were world beaters last year. They were still scoring, high teens to win some of those games. Like, this is on the off. This team is built for the offense to score points.
Yes.
The defense was awful in the fourth quarter against the Cardinals, and they were not good the first half today. But if I would have told you the defense was going to give up 23 and 24, you'd think they'd be in the game. Mm-hmm. And they got turnovers again. They got an interception that gave the offense the ball in field goal range. The offense decided not to do anything with that. And then they got another turnover and down. So we can say they don't get turnovers. This defense has gotten at least
critical
3,
turnovers.
Maybe 4 turnovers on downs, which are still turnovers. It doesn't affect field position. You're not returning it, but they're doing enough to keep them in the game. The money that they've spent, it's almost like everyone cashed their checks between Jones and Carr and Renfro and Waller, and they're like, we're good. We got paid. We're good. And that's concerning that they're 0-3, and they have a 2% chance to make the playoffs at this point. And barring a run that's hard to see, they need to basically run through the AFC West. They have to win 4 of 5, if not 5 of 5 in the AFC West from here on out, just to have a chance.
They have to win the next 2, but first of all, they have to win the first. They got to win next week.
They got to win 1.
They win 1
Let's
before
win 1.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's seen in Major League when they're talking about this is when we won 2 games in a row. We won 1 more. Yeah. That's a winning streak.
I think the newest logo should be just win 1, baby. That's where we're at.
I'm sure
we're still in September and we're just win 1, baby.
I'll be at the game, and I'm sure I am sure that we'll see some of those signs or T-shirts there as well too. So I just don't know. I mean, are they together? I mean, is Ziegler gonna have to fire his best friend?
No, I don't think we're in. Like, I see the rampant Twitter speculation. There's no way Mark Davis is going to walk away from Josh McDaniels in year 1. He's going to get at least 2 years, unless this team face plants that goes 2-15, which I don't think they will. I think they'll turn it around. They'll start to win some games. The playoffs is another question. Can they get to 7 or 8 wins? Yeah, there's still a chance. There's enough talent on this team to do that.
Yeah.
I did find it interesting that the reports immediately came out that Mark Davis had a closed door meeting with McDaniels after this game, and it's been reported by numerous news outlets. So Mark Davis clearly isn't happy. I'm sure it went something along the lines, we had a playoff team. What's going on? We gave up all this draft capital. What's going on with Chandler Jones? Why can't you get the ball to Devontae Adams? I'm sure he gave him some encouragement there, but I don't think they're anywhere near find Josh McDaniels.
It's I don't think so either, but it is. I mean, I think Josh Dubois, who was just on fire, Machine Gun Kelly, Josh Dubois.
He just tweets facts. I don't know why Raider fans hate him. They're all facts.
There's nothing in there.
Yeah.
People want alternative facts. They don't want real facts.
There's an agenda, but they're facts.
Oh yeah, no question about it. But he's not lying. So like, he's. I mean, I think he tweeted after the McDaniels is 5-20 or something like that after his 6-game winning streak. So like, right. I mean, this is like, it's not just a thing now where it's just we're talking about the Raiders and Derek Carr. It's talking about
Josh McDaniels thing.
It's Josh McDaniels thing, no question about it. Like he has to, and I think what I often wondered, like, what was, and I know that he had Brady, and I get it, I understand. But Brady played the Brady and the Patriots played enough close games where like they always came up with the right play, right time, and I think that's what Belichick's influence was in my mind. I just feel like he could hear all the plays and just like, you know what, that one doesn't sound good. Do this, or like Gronk is on fire. Why are we going away from Gronk? Like kind of those kind of things, and I think. One of the things that really bothered me on with Josh McDaniels is how come every time they get a big play, how come every time they get or they get put behind the sticks, they're always up against the play clock. Every single time. It's like, what is going on with the communication of the play getting in? Like that should be automatic. Again, to my mind, I keep saying, what was training camp for?
Yeah, veteran play caller, veteran QB. There's no reason that they should have got 2 delay of game penalties. 1 on 3rd and 13, 1 on 4th down. Like that can't happen. And I know there's people saying, well, that's on the center. It's not on the center. Like if the play's getting in late, there's some coverage where the play's getting called. Like if the quarterback starts clapping his hands with 2 seconds, like you can't blame the center because he still has to, they may still be doing line calls, figuring out where the pressure's coming from. Like he can't just say, oh crap, and hike the ball. So that falls on everyone. Mostly the play caller and the quarterback, a little bit I would say on Parham, but you can't blame the center. He's in his 2nd game. Like everything's got to happen quicker. There was no tempo once they were down 2 scores. Like there was no hurry up. You didn't see them trying to play with speed. Like, and this is what I told you last week. Like in today's NFL, like, you need to be up by 2 scores with 5 minutes because you basically guarantee that they're going to have to get an onside kick, which the Raiders needed. They were only down 8, but they needed it because if they don't get the 2-point conversion, there's no other way to get the ball back. And they wasted some timeouts during the second half that they probably didn't need to. There was a lot of things going on this game. I thought we saw the vaunted score a touchdown, or I think it may have been after a field goal when it was 24-13, the short kick that gets returned to midfield. Thank God there was a penalty. Just kick the ball out of the end zone. Like we talked about this last year. Let's not mess with fire. Kick it out of the end zone. Give it to him at the 25 every time. I thought the special teams wasn't very good. The coverage units today, other than Hollins' play that he made a spectacular play that the Raiders challenged and got overturned to get the ball to 2. But I thought the coverage teams weren't very good today. That needs to get cleaned up. I thought offensively, it's the red zone and on defense, the bend but don't break can't break. You can't give up, like you said, 3 touchdowns in 3 possessions. You just can't do it.
It got to be a field goal mixed in there somewhere. I mean, that's where the onus takes on the defense. I'm not going to kill the defense for that. For the field goal at the end. I think the offense needs to at the very least they need to make sure that even if you don't score, that the clock is done and there's nothing left in this game. And I think the one thing we have to look at too is like the average NFL game is going to be close anyway. So don't let the scores of these games give you encouragement. They're losing these games. Like they are 100% losing these games. So don't think that's an issue there in their favor. The Chiefs 2-1, the Broncos 1-1 right now as we talk. They're playing the 49ers. The Chargers, who I called that game easily because I just felt like there's no way the Chargers should be that favored by that much against anybody in football, especially a team like that. The Jaguars who have really good defensive talent, and then the Raiders are 0-3. Does it give you, I mean, any kind of solace here that the division, nobody's run away from the division yet? Or this is just a Raider problem they got to fix now? Me either. I mean,
I'm not worried about what the other teams in the division are doing because the Raiders have to win if they have to win 4 out of 5, if not 5 out of 5 in the division at this point. They've let too many games slip away.
AFC games
That
too.
they just have to figure it out. Like they're going to have to figure out how to beat the Chiefs once, if not twice. Like they're going to have to beat the Chargers. I don't care if they're losing games; they're already up in the division. So Raiders are going to have to go on an unprecedented, historic run here to make the playoffs. And do they have the talent? Yeah, but like they're not anywhere near playing a full game, and we haven't seen it. Like I don't need press conferences saying, "Oh gosh, darn it, we need to play practice better," and the head coach saying, "We just need to learn." No, Josh, you need to learn. Run the damn football. That's what they need to do in some of these games. But a lot of excuses coming out of these press conferences through 3 weeks is concerning, considering this team made the playoffs last year.
Yeah, and I think that Mark, and I gotta tell you, man, like if there's one guy who I do feel for is the guy who's writing those checks, because he wants to win. It's the only missing piece from his move from Oakland to Las Vegas. I mean, and they just can't put it. It's, no matter what they do, they can't put it together. And he wants that home playoff game. Probably won't get it this year, but he wants that home playoff game. He wants to be a consistent winner, and I'm glad that somebody's putting him to fire right now. I mean, this is really not acceptable in any way whatsoever. This is not a team that's built like Atlanta, who is trying to go out and at some point play Desmond Ritter or whatever, or like a rebuilding team. It's the team that put together with a veteran coaching staff, guys who worked in the league for a long period of time, and now they're struggling mightily, and
veteran players. They don't have young players on this roster. This is an old roster.
Yeah, it's not good. It's not good. It's not good. It's not the best situation to be in. What do you feel about that? Early this week, I forgot to ask you about it. This whole no blocky, no Rocky thing that you heard from I think it was Lombardi who said that in press conference this week, and I'm sitting there saying to myself, like you paid Darren Waller to be Lee Smith, like. Did you? I'm not saying he should be a sieve at blocking, but you paid him to be a guy who goes on the field and catches footballs.
And Darren Waller has been an adequate blocker in his NFL career. He's never been a true inline blocking tight end. He's not going to be that. He's 30 years old. He's a dynamic player down the field, although he didn't show that today. This was probably the worst game he's had as a Raider. 2 drops in the end zone, a drop that one of those turned into an interception. They lose by 2, and then big play down the field where he just sticks the one arm out instead of tries to catch it with 2 hands. And I've noticed he's done that a few times this year. So for some reason, Waller and Carr aren't the same page, but maybe psychologically, him being out snapped last week, maybe that's wearing on him. And he's a professional athlete. It shouldn't, but it does. They're human, and maybe that you're seeing lead into his ability to focus when the ball is coming his way. There's something going on. This does not look like the Darren Waller we've seen for the last couple of years. This year, through 3 games.
No, not at all. And before, like I said, before I know everybody's gonna try to pile on Darren Waller. I mean, don't forget Game 1, that first drive, that ball he clearly beats Derwin James, and that should have been a touchdown. And Carr's with that well behind him, where I think if Derwin James was looking, it might have been a pick the other way. So it all evens out. He has to be. They kind of. It just they just got to win 2 straight. It's just no other way to do it. No other way to say it. They have to. 1-4 is not going to cut it. And like this whole kindler, gentler. I can't be. A jerk or an asshole. Like somebody needs to kind of put their foot down and this is professional sports. Everybody's getting paid. This is not like high school football where we have situations where we're worried about people's feelings. You got to deal with parents and stuff like that. Like if you got to go, somebody got to step up and be a man and take over this football team. Biggest problem as far as the coverage by these linebackers, and I thought that was going to be. I thought they thought that was going to be a strength of this team, but they have just been lost in the sauce as far as that goes. Every check. You can check down your way all the way to, 30 points if if you wanted to. Some of these plays, I'm like, I just don't get it.
Yeah, it was a weird game plan in the first half. Clearly, they took some of that away in the second half, but Jayon Brown and Devon Diablo have to improve their coverage. They just have to. The Raiders invested a lot in Devon Diablo making that jump this year into being that guy, and as far as pass coverage, being a former safety, and it just hasn't materialized. Hopefully they get Denzel Perryman back soon, but Denzel Perryman is
Not
adequate in
coverage.
coverage. Blake Martinez, I would expect him to be signing on Monday or Tuesday. He should be in uniform by Wednesday, I would think. At this point, they brought him in twice. He's adequate in coverage. Like, he's not a coverage linebacker, so they're going to have to figure something out. Jonathan Abram had a huge whiff in the flat on 3rd and 9 where he didn't even get a hand on the guy. And they're deep inside their own 10-yard line to give up a first down. That can't happen. So it's just a play here, play there, but it seems like it's the same old. Like, when they have a chance to step on the throat to do something, you just don't see that from this team this year. And I don't know why that is. We hear a lot about leadership in the locker room, but where is it on the field? I want to see it on the field. I want to see it on Sunday and Monday night if they ever play a Monday night game. I don't care about it Wednesday and Thursday. I want to see it on Sunday.
Yeah, and I think and I can't even imagine the conversations that I know they're good friends, but I can't even imagine the conversations in his head that Devontae Adams is having right now. I mean, I just can't even I can't imagine what he invested his entire livelihood in this move. He could have, hung out in Green Bay. He could have demanded a trade to, anywhere. Like, and he basically handpicked the Raiders. And this has just not been working out. And I expect, it just should be, and it's hard. I think that, I used to work back in the day when my uncle used to work in a juvenile detention center. And I think that he said that the one thing, it's easier to be a hard ass and soften up over time than it is to be soft and be a hard ass later on. And I think that's kind of where we are with McDaniels. I think if he came in fire and brimstone and then eased up as the season goes along, you see Tom Coughlin do that with the Giants, everything like that. I think it's going to be hard for him to kind of be that guy. Now he has to just. We thought we were getting a master tactician, and I haven't seen any of that. I mean, how many ridiculous? If I was watching Tennessee versus South Carolina with all the throwbacks, the throwback passes behind the line of scrimmage. Like, what are you doing with that? I mean, was it 3 of those in this game today?
There was 2, and there was a Devontae Adams jet sweep, which you can just burn. You don't need to call that play. And it was down, I think, inside the 25, maybe like the 22, 23, about to get into the red zone, lose 4 yards.
Yeah,
throwbacks for 4 yards. Both of those was one was a 4-yard gain, and the other one was like a 15-yard gain where Adams just kind of worked across the field. Like, these aren't shots down the field. So,
and it's very concerning that they're taking place in the pre-red zone. Like, why are we like you're risking going backwards for no reason? Like, you should be going, and then you have Josh Jacobs who you can just hand the ball off to, who at this game had 13 carries for 66 yards, and counted. I think he counted for almost 100 yards because he had 5 catches for 31 yards as well too. So it's, I don't know.
I thought Moreau played well. I thought, just quickly from the broadcast view, other than the sack Munford gave up, I thought he held up okay. I thought the interior line did about as well as you could do against Jeffrey Simmons. Jeffrey Simmons didn't wreck this game.
Nope.
I thought it was interesting that some of the beat writers were tweeting out the game plan was to go after Kevin Byard, when Kevin Byard is probably their best player in the secondary. Like, they got a rookie out there and they got some unproven guys. Yeah. Like, why are we going after an all-pro? I didn't understand.
That was, I didn't understand that at all. That's kind of weird. To me, if you watch that game against the Bills, there were plenty of guys to go after. There are plenty of
11
guys.
of them.
Yeah, there's a bunch of guys for them to go after. So I don't know. We'll talk later in the week after we see the all 22 and take a glance at that, and we'll give you a little more insight. But the Raiders lose again. They are 0-3 on the season. They are 0-3. That is not a mistake, which it was. 24-22, and they are really struggling. So that's it. Ryan, got anything else before we go?
Yeah, just at this point, the way they're playing, it's tough to sugarcoat it and be upbeat and, hey, they're going to snap out of it. Like, they got to do it. They have to prove it at some point, and the games are only going to get tougher. They're going to start playing some better teams. We're talking the Cardinals and the Titans at this point. And even the Chargers, who the media wants to make out to be world beaters, has now lost 2 in a row after they basically mopped the floor with the Raiders in the first half of that other game. So it's not like they're going out and losing to really good teams. So let's see what is this team going to look like as we get deeper in the season and the schedule gets harder.
Yeah, and I kind of think that this division is not gonna. And I for some reason, I just feel like the division and the Chiefs will still be the Chiefs, I think, but this division is not going to be what people think it's going to be. I think when with Herbert, who the media wants to make into John Elway, and then you got Russell Wilson in Denver. I just don't. And when look what the Raiders are doing, for some reason I just don't think this division is going to live up to the hype that everybody had for it here. And then you got the Dolphins, who just don't lose. I mean, Dolphins just don't lose. Maybe
did the Raiders hire the wrong McDaniel? That's the next question.
I mean, 83 points in 3 games, and then you also have Brian Flores was out there.
And Tua looks like a real quarterback now.
He does.
Funny,
he does.
He got a number 1 weapon, and he looks really good. Just thought I'd throw it out there. Clearly, the scheme is a lot better in Miami so far than it has been in Las Vegas.
Yeah, no question about it. And then you're looking around the AFC too. You look at the Jaguars, who did the Raiders a little bit of a favor beating the Chargers, but I mean they look good. I mean they look legitimately good. I mean he looks, after that first game, and I think they could have won their first game of the year too against the Commanders, but I mean they look really good. So AFC is going to be weird and kind of crazy, but you gotta the Raiders gotta wake up real quick, and hopefully that pep talk, if you will, from Mark Davis will get the Raiders going.
Yeah, if they don't, you're going to see a lot of opposing fans in that stadium come late November through December.
That Niner game is going to look real ugly. It's going to look real ugly. It'll look real red in that stadium. All right, Ryan.